instructor of Healys Commando Krav Maga Australia, also known as Integrated Combat Solutions. Now, if you want to go to a club that has a professional approach and what I call a non-aggressive approach, and let me explain that what we teach is the technical applications of self-defense systems. Now that can be done for all members of the family, and usually we take students from about 12 years of age up. Okay, now what will you learn at Healys Commando Krav Maga or Integrated Combat Solutions, and how was it formed? What is it all about? Well, have a look at our website, www.Commando Krav Maga Australia. Also, we have our other website, www.unitedmartialartsacademyaustralia.com, and also healyshealth.com. There's a myriad of information there, but the main one for the Krav Maga / self-defense type training is www.commandokravmagaaustralia.com. Now, what is Krav Maga all about? Well, I'll give you the big picture in a very short period of time. Basically, Krav Maga is a term for one-on-one or personal self-defense designed by the Israeli army. Now, what they did in their various forms of Krav Maga, so there's Commando Krav Maga, there's Krav Maga, there's Kapap, there's Lotar, and all these various other Israeli names which really mean a man-to-man combat. And there's a history behind it, and there's a lot of guys out there claiming to be authentic and from this regiment and this regiment and this, you know, it sort of gets a bit confusing at the end of the day. So from my perspective, being Australian, I look at what they actually teach you and then I absorb it into my system. So our system is quite unique, where I've used the base of Commando Krav Maga and absorbed that into Healys Integrated Combat Solutions. In other words, I've taken the DNA out of what I felt was the best of and the most logical of the Commando Krav Maga system. And normal Krav Maga, I've looked at that as well. Now, we just give you a quick base on Healys Integrated Combat Solutions, Commando Krav Maga Australia. My background's in boxing, right? So I've spent quite a lot of time in boxing as an amateur boxer. I've fought professionals as well. My grandfather was a professional boxing coach. My father was Queensland State Champion, 1941. And the big plus with boxing is the ability to move fast and good footwork, and there's a very good training conditioning program to go with boxing. Now, never underestimate a boxer, that's for certain, and I'll guarantee that a good boxer is a very formidable form of self-defense. Now, then what I did, I personally then joined Taekwondo and went in and became a professional instructor with Grandmaster Yun Kyu Yun, who was originally an 8th Dan with General Choi, and now he's the Grandmaster of his own system, Yun Jun Do, which of course I was an international instructor with. And then 20 years ago I resigned from all that after 15 years with 2 Korean masters. I thought, well, you know, I've learned as much as I want to learn from that. I've got my boxing background, I had my kicking background. We learned some professional kickboxing techniques of one of our associates, Jason White, who had well over 200 kickboxing fights and actually had trained under the world famous I think he's had about 6 world titles, J.W. Parr. So Jason White trained under J.W. and then came and taught us some very good kickboxing protocols. And then I was the first instructor to bring the founder of Commando Krav Maga, Monty Isaac, to Australia. At that time we ran workshops and seminars and what have you for federal police and military people and civilians as well. However, I then decided that I would absorb what I'd learnt and then build it into my already existing system, hence the name Integrated Combat Solutions. So what will you learn in our system as versus to all the other systems? Well, our three-legged table is boxing, taekwondo kicking, old school taekwondo kicking, you know, the real hard stuff as far as focus and concentration is concerned, and our version of unarmed combat. So we combined Commando, Krav Maga and what else that we felt appropriate into our system so that we've balanced that and synergised it. So what, in my own terms, I've taken the DNA out of everything, including Taekwondo, Yun Jundo, the boxing that I was taught by my grandfather and father, the Commando, Krav Maga, the Krav Maga, I've synergised it. Now I'm 60 years of age, I've been training for 40 years, so I think I've got the ability to be able to look at something and see if it works and why it works, and I can extract it and then just grab that DNA and then use those particular simple principles in the Healys system. And that's exactly what we've done. A lot of my students say we've perfectly integrated the many systems into what I call is a practical self-defense system. So today, I see on the internet there's a lot of people being very aggressive. A true professional doesn't have to be aggressive, they just have to know exactly what they're doing. And I've been there, done that. I've defended myself against armed attackers. I've been in real conflict situations where I've been totally unarmed, and I've never ever, in all the situations I've had, I've never been hurt. I've always been able to defend myself quite applicably. But it's because I did a lot of systematic training in the background. Today, I'm mentoring people, families, young people from 12 years of age up, in how to not only defend themselves, but how to live a totally healthy life as well. Because I used to own a health centre, and I'm sort of into weights training and what have you. I'm into the big picture. I'm not just into self-defence. Right, so at Healys Integrated Combat Solutions, what you will learn is the technical side of self-defence, and you will learn to do it stage by stage, step by step, without going over the top. I'm a strong believer in a strong teaching ethic without the attached aggression. I understand the whole picture. As I said to you, I've fought professional fighters in the boxing ring. So look, I know all that, and I know what is a good technique and not a good technique. So in my class, the atmosphere is very, almost family-like. In fact, it is family-like. It's non-confrontational, a very happy environment, and you technically learn how to do stuff properly without yelling and screaming, without all that other silly business I see going on. Totally professionally. As a matter of fact, my other business partner in the self-defence scenarios is a former professional soldier and now fully qualified lawyer, Robert Phillips. Robert was in the army for, I think, 10 to 15 years, I believe, and had also taught the SAS during that time. You can have a look at his background on our website, www.commandokravmagaaustralia.com. Now, if you want to learn a good self-defence that encompasses a lot of areas, also we look at weapons, simplistic approach to weapons, gun disarming, we look at that simplistically and safely. Various scenarios on how to get out of locks and holes on the ground and what have you, and how to actually use your boxing techniques correctly without gloves on, and open hand techniques that both men, women and children can use. And we do it within a very strict risk management framework, because my other partner's a lawyer, and also we do it in a very strict legal framework. We understand Criminal Code 1899 in Australia that actually has the proportionate response protocols. If you're in a self-defence situation and you go over the top You're the one who'll go into jail, not the offender. So you have to be aware of the guidelines in Australia especially. We're not in the Middle East where it's life and death. At this stage we're not in the Middle East anyhow. I'm not training professional soldiers to go to the Middle East, it's a different ball game. We're training civilians to defend themselves against someone who may be either aggressive on drugs like crack for instance. They get super aggressive. How do you defend yourselves against someone like that? Someone who's got a weapon, someone who wants something off you like wallets, money and what have you. We will train you to counter those situations unarmed. Sound alright? Have a look at some of our videos on our website. I'm one of the very few instructors who teaches the class, and you'll actually see my videos on our own website. Not just all these photographs of pictures of people standing around. We're actually out there doing it, and we have ladies with their sons and daughters that train with us. I've had families with whole families training with us. They enjoy their training because it is very casual in a way, technical in one way, but it certainly isn't aggressive. So I don't believe in you have to be super aggressive to know what you're doing. I've handled a lot of situations over the last 40 years, including defence against fully armed shotgun robbers and all these characters. And you know, there wasn't much yelling and screaming from me. Perhaps from the other people there were. But when you're a professional, you don't have to try and convince people that you can do something, you just do it. And so I'm trying to give a professional teaching approach within a legal framework, within the Australian framework in Australia. So you want to learn a self-defence system that is user-friendly and conforms with the Australian framework and legalities, come and join us now. Graham Healy, Healys Commando Krav Maga Australia, or also known as Integrated Combat. Give me a call now on mobile phone number 0411 393 503. Have a chat to me and we'll have a good old talk, and then come down and have a look at our training, and we welcome you there. And stay safe and keep an eye and be aware. Keep an eye out and be aware. Awareness is a big factor. And let's have a look at what we do that is morally and legally correct in the process. Have a look at some of the other legalities I've got on my website, and you'll fully understand where we're coming from. And we are now getting a lot of calls from military and police and prison wardens, because they know what we're talking about, and what we discuss on our website is actually the legal framework that they have to work within as well. So we just want to make Australia safe again, and we want to make every citizen, even though you can't bear arms in Australia, I would really like this to be Texas, but you can't. However, your body, unarmed combat or unarmed self-defence systems is the only way that we can legally go in Australia. So stay safe. We can teach you a lot of things, and we look at the bigger picture, where I'm really a health and fitness person at heart, and it's not just self-defence, but we look at the bigger picture, health and fitness, and total health and all the rest of it. Okay, look forward to hearing from you shortly. It's Graham Healy, Chief Instructor of Healys Commando Krav Maga Australia, also known as Integrated Combat Solutions. We'll speak to you soon. Look forward to your call.